Damn. Yeah. Hit the like button if it ain't nothing. Hit the like button. It ain't nothing. Let's go. Shout out to everybody, man. Sunday morning. Let's get it. Let's get it. Hit that like button, man. Shout out to the fam. You know what it is. Nothing much, man. It's Sunday, man. Just came here to talk about something real quick. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk about this Charleston White thanks God for slavery, man. Jesse Lee Peterson said it too. Hold on, man. Hit that like button. Tap on in with us. Yeah. Salute. As we get ready. As we get ready. Yes. Tap on in, huh? Man. So it is what it is, man. It's just we gonna have some fun with this one, man. Ain't no thing, man. It's we just here. Um well, it ain't Sunday morning no more, man. I would say Sunday afternoon, even though it's 11 a.m. on the West Coast, but if you're um if you're on Central Time or East Coast time, it's already 1 p.m. 2 p.m. over there back east. But right now it's still 11 a.m. Out west. And yes. Yeah. Charleston White said, "Hell yeah, he thanked God for slavery." Jesse Lee Peterson said the same thing. Yes, I will. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that Monday because it's a lot of females that's out here tap dancing. So I will get to the tap dancing females Monday. We're gonna get on their helmet Monday. Right? Because I've seen them and it's a lot of them out there. So trust and believe. I'm on them. I'm on their helmet. I just haven't got to it yet, but I will tomorrow, Monday. And we're gonna call out this behavior and we're gonna continue to push forward. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, man, shout out to my people out there, man. King Supreme TV. I gotta drop some shorts today too, man. That's what I gotta do. I gotta drop some more shorts. I dropped like 2 shorts yesterday, man, and they're doing pretty good. Especially when you consider the fact that I haven't uploaded on this channel like that. So yeah, I think they're doing pretty damn good. You know, salute to my people. Tap on in. We're gonna let some more people get up in here, man, and we're gonna dive right into the conversation. No doubt. Yes. You were tuned in to one of the best in the game, Red Supreme. We're 4 minutes in, man. Once we get to the 6 minute mark, man, we're gonna dive into the conversation. So we got about like another 60 seconds before we get into this conversation. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. Pull on up and show love. You know, it is great. Right about this time. The time is now. Well, you already know. Shout out to my people, man, for tapping on in, man. You know, salute. Hey, man, this conversation was funny because Charleston White gonna add the comedy, but there's a lot of truths hidden in comedy, right? A lot of people disguise truth in comedy. It's funny, but at the same time, there's a certain level of realism that goes into that. So that's why I think comedians are kind of like the best at telling the truth, but they do it like in a joking way. You know what I mean? So you could say a lot of things that the average person can't get away that they can't get away with. Now listen, it's funny that YouTube police these channels, right? Especially like a channel like mine where I discuss issues, social issues, race issues, political issues, street issues. I cover a wide range of things over here, right? Different topics. But this is one of those things. Now, YouTube plays drill rap, music that promotes violence, and those channels are monetized. They don't have a problem with monetization over there. But when I speak, and I'm not even using a lot of curse words, they'll demonetize us content creators for saying a cuss word or saying one or two words that they don't like. But they got all these drill rappers, you know what I mean? Movies with violence in it, movies who show shootings and deaths and all these things, right? They they show all of those things and they're monetized. But they want to penalize us for saying a few words that they don't like. That's hypocrisy. If you're gonna demonetize YouTubers, why do you monetize drill rappers? Why do you monetize movies that shows violence? But you're mad at me for words. I'm not even promoting violence on my channel. Look at all the hoops and obstacles we got to go through just to stay monetized as content creators. But they'll play a rap song. But they'll play a rap song who talked about shooting 50 people, being a killer, saying some of the most craziest things that you can think of, and those videos are monetized. They don't have a problem with monetization. They don't have a problem with the so-called YouTube partners. This is crazy. This platform is hypocritical, man. It really is. So anyway, man, we're going to get on with the show, man. I just wanted to point out that hypocrisy, man. Blatant hypocrisy. Monetizing drill rappers, but you want to silence content creators who might say a few curse words here and there. Man, this is crazy.
Were you ever into your blackness as an identity?
No,
You
I was in the bush. What grown folks said. I never.
Right, you just said it, Scoop, because when you listen to my content, it's thought provoking. It's gonna make you think. So they don't want that message to spread. But a rapper who talks about unaliving people, gang on the dead homies, they'll promote that. They'll monetize that. They'll promote that. They'll promote that crap all throughout the algorithm, as long as he's talking about this and that. But yeah, man, see, that ought to tell you something, that content is more powerful than music. Because if you're policing content creators more than music, then that means that you guys are afraid of our influence. You don't want this influence to spread. So what you do is you silence us, you demonetize us, you make it to where we can't use certain words, even in the comments. Like, listen, you can't even put the word coon in the title. When you write it in the comment section, YouTube will block it. This is crazy. But anyway, let's get into this though. listen, homie, they're policing everything we say on this platform. They're looking for any and every excuse to demonetize your video.
I had an identity. That's why I played so many different roles.
So what do you think about the blacks that are into their identity? They're into being black, their color, and they're using that as an identity. What do you think about that? They're into their blackness.
Whatever a person identify with, it don't bother me. I identify with what's right, but I relate to what's black. I don't eat white people cooking. They don't cook like me. They don't season their food like me. White people don't put grease in their hair. So
you think it's okay to be into your into your blackness? Is that the right way to live?
Yeah. Why wouldn't it be? White people into they white, Mexicans into they Mexican, Chinese into they Chinese.
But does it make it right though?
Yeah, make it right.
In what way?
What you mean? Everybody else is into theirs. Why wouldn't we be in ours? You talking about why? Listen, I ain't with that Dr. King kid. Everywhere I went, and I'm all black, I ain't getting treated like go treat me. But listen, you better identify with your black.
And why?
What you mean why? Everybody else identify with your black.
I know, but that make it right because everyone else doing it.
Listen, red birds identify with red birds. Bluebirds identify with bluebirds. Zebras identify as zebras.
Amazing.
How you go not identify what you are? Nature. You didn't get to pick this.
Did you ever hate white people?
Yeah.
And do you still hate them?
But nothing. No, I didn't hate them then. It was just a thought. Because that's what you hear.
And how did you see white people at the time that you hated them? What made you hate them?
Listening to bullshit as a kid. Same reason white people fear black people. Listening to their bullshit uncles and granddaddies. We don't get to know one another until we grow up and start going to school, going to college, getting our own jobs. But in the beginning, we sitting around at Christmas, hearing our uncles say some racist, hearing our racist granddaddy say some white people sitting around hearing racist, black folks sitting around hearing president. Ain't no verse versa. So what happens is children mimic what they see and repeat what they hear, whether it's right or wrong. So even a little white kid, he don't know what the fuck he's saying. Same with the little black boy. I got a racist teacher. You don't know racism. Most black people don't know racism because racism is so hidden in the fabrics of this country. You don't know it's there, motherfucker, but it's there.
How did you overcome hated whites?
I started white girls at an early age. Yeah, I started on white girls at an early age. I ain't bullshit. My mama moved. Listen, I'm one of the first to live among white folks in the 80s. My mama moved us to Pantego, a notoriously known all-white community. Yeah, I went out there and realized white girl like, yeah. My mama them say, my grandmama them say, hey, listen, they not racist, but a black woman's biggest fear if we move around white people, white girls go holler rape. We done seen what happened to Emmett Till and every other that like to chasing that white girl. So now, man, once I went on white girls, ain't nowhere in the world I can hate white people good at white girl pussy.
So what do you think about
this fool had to add the comedy. He said he's smashing on too many snow bunnies. This dude.
Yeah, my mama them say, my mama, my grandma are wrong. So even a little white kid, he don't know what the fuck he's saying. Same with the little black boy. I got a racist teacher. You don't know racism. Most black people don't know racism because racism is so hidden in the fabrics of this country. You don't know.
Shout out to Charleston for talking about how racism is there, but they have a way to make it seem like it's not. Yeah, my channel was monetized, but I'm just saying. They look for any and every reason to demonetize one of my videos. Oh, this person said a curse word. So they look for any reason to take the monetization off of one of my videos. That's why I say you got to be careful with the language. They got me under the microscope. You know what I mean? My channel I haven't had the last time I had a monetized channel was 2021. The last time I've had a monetized YouTube channel, that was 2021. That ought to tell you something. I got tired of the policing, but at the same time, I'm leaving a whole lot of money on the table by not having a monetized channel. So it's a double-edged sword. You know, you get tired of all the policing, but then it's like, man, I can't. So something got to shake. But what I'm saying is this. I believe this was a dope conversation. I don't want to sidetrack the conversation. I want to get back to the topic of what Charleston White is saying, and we're going to deal with that. Charleston said he thanks God for slavery. You know what I mean? He said it was a blessing to go through slavery because that's why we have the money and the opportunities that we have today. I'm going to let you guys hear from Charleston.
Get right.
In what way?
What you mean? Everybody else is in the jail. Why wouldn't we be in the house? Shit, you talking about why? Listen, I ain't with that Dr. King shit. Everywhere I went, and I'm all black, I ain't getting treated like to go treat me. But listen, you better identify with your black.
And why?
What you mean why? Everybody else identify with your black.
I know, but
Hey,
that make it right because everyone else doing it.
Listen, red birds identify with red birds. Bluebirds identify with bluebirds. Zebras identify as zebras.
Amazing.
How you go not identify what you are? Nature. You didn't get to pick this.
Did you ever hate white people?
Yeah.
And do you still hate them?
But nothing. No, I didn't hate them then. It was just a thought. Because that's what you hear.
And how did you see white people at the time that you hated them? What made you hate them?
Listening to bullshit as a kid. Same.
Why don't you ask white people what made them hate black people? I think that'd be a better question to ask, Jesse D. Peterson. What makes white people hate black people? Right? You can't say because black people are ghetto and this and that. If you go back to the 1930s, blacks wasn't ghetto. We didn't have ghetto and hood culture. And white people attacked black people more back then. They attacked black people more. When black people wore suits and went to church, prayed every Sunday, prayed every day and went to church and went to work, minded their business, they was attacked more by whites back then. So don't let them gaslight you by saying, oh, we hate blacks because it is no, you hated blacks way before ghetto culture existed. And I have the facts to prove it. So don't let these people gaslight you with that nonsense. They're telling you bold-faced lies, hoping that you don't understand the history of this country. So the better question would be, why do white people hate blacks?
Same reason white people fear black people. Listening to. Yeah.
And do you still hate them?
But nothing. No, I didn't hate them then. It was just a thought. Because that's what you hear.
And how did you see white people at the time that you hated them? What made you hate them?
Listening to bullshit as a kid. Same reason white people fear black people. Listening to their bullshit uncles and granddaddies. We don't get to know one another until we grow up and start going to school, going to college, getting our own jobs. But in the beginning, we sitting around at Christmas, hearing our uncles say some racist, hearing our racist granddaddy say some white people sitting around hearing racist, black folks sitting around hearing president. Ain't no verse.
See, you can't talk about blacks and whites or racism. Blacks are reactive to the racism that we deal with. Whites are proactive with racism. Blacks are just responding to the racism that we dealt with in this country for centuries. So that's a response, but that's natural for a human being. You back somebody in a corner, eventually they're going to feel a certain way and they're going to have to come out swinging because your whole life you've had to defend yourself from this racism coming from this particular group of people. On the other hand, blacks ain't did nothing to white people to make them hate them like this, right? White people were raised to feel a certain way about black people. They've been indoctrinated to feel this way. You know, they get it from their granddaddies, their grandmothers, and you know, their older family members. And that racism and hate is passed down from generation to generation. That's why you have Nazis, skinheads, Klansmen, different white supremacist gang, white nationalist groups. Now, they'll tell you that they're not racism, but they'll tell you that they're not racist. But if you got enough common sense, you know that they are. So black people, we're just responding to the racism. White people decided that, hey, man, we're going to hate black folks and dominate these people, but we ain't did nothing to them.
So what happens is children mimic what they see
Yeah.
and repeat what they hear, whether it's right or wrong. So even a little white kid, he don't know what the fuck he's saying. Same with the little black boy. I got a racist teacher. You don't know racism. Most black people don't know racism because racism is so hidden in the fabrics of this country. You don't know it's there, motherfucker, but it's there.
How did you
It's so
overcome
hidden.
hated whites?
Oh, I started white girls at an early age. Yeah, I started on white girls at an early. I ain't bullshit. My mama moved. Listen, I'm one of the first to live among white folks in the 80s. My mama moved us to Pantego, a notoriously known all-white community. Yeah, I went out there and realized white girl like, yeah. My mama them say, my mama, my grandmama them say, hey, listen, they not racist, but a black woman's biggest fear, if we move around white people, the white girls go holler rape. We done seen what happened to Emmett Till and every other that like to chasing that white girl. So no, man. Oh shit, no, man. Once I went on white girls, ain't nowhere in the world like I hate white people. Good at white girl pussy is.
So what do you think about this war that's going on between the blacks and the whites today? Black
Listen,
people,
it's gonna be over with. I tell you all the time, go make a baby with white girls.
but
man,
most
listen,
black
and
people
white
think
girls,
that white people are their enemy today. What do you think
they
about
don't think that. Not after the Kardashian. After keeping up with the Kardashian, racism is just about to be over with.
But they use it for everything.
The mulatto, I got mulatto babies, so I don't know racism. Yeah, listen, I'm one of the only niggas I know on damn near every race of woman you can think of. I done had loud Japanese, so I don't know nothing about racism. If that's how you stop racism, and shit, orgies, parties, but that's.
You can tell that he's trolling and he's just trying to be funny because no, sex does not stop racism. The slave masters during the slave days slept with the black females who were slaves. Did it stop white men from being racist? Did it stop white men from being racist? Just because they had access to the black woman's body? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You have racist white men who sleep with black women today. Does that stop them from being racist? Of course not. So we already know that Charleston White is just trolling. Having sex with different races does not stop racism. Hell nah. You know, that's buffoonery. But I get it. He's giving us comedy. He's a shock jock.
No, damn near every race of woman you can think of. I done had loud Japanese, so I don't know nothing about racism. If that's how you stop racism, and shit, orgies, parties, but that's how you stop that. But the mulattoes is gonna save us.
Do you believe racism exists?
No, not no more. Not after rap music and Michael Jordan tennis shoes and what's that yellow boy name? Stephen Curry.
Do you believe racism ever existed?
Yeah, you know it existed. Man, the way they used to bad it, they done. They made, think about this. They used to have a whole doctrine on how to make a slave. It wasn't no before American slavery.
Right. N-words were created by white people. They created these N-words that they hate. Right? So white people don't have no room to complain. White people created the same N-words that they hate. They created the same N-words that they want to segregate from, right? There was books. There was slave masters who programmed black people to be a certain way, right? You remember the term buck broken. This is how you make slaves docile. This is how you get them to serve you. This is how you get them to be loyal to you. So there was a strategy, there was a playbook by the slave masters that taught other white people, this is how you train N-words. This is how you get Negroes to be subservient so that they can give you loyalty. And as a result of that, you'll make money because you own these people. So they had books on this is how you train black people to become good slaves, right? This is how you train them to become good N-words. So Charleston White is 100% correct right there. See, he's trolling. He'll add some truth into it, but at the same time, he'll troll and add some comedy.
was Africans and Chinese, but the Nigger, they was made.
But Charleston is funny, though. You can't take that away from him. Charleston is hilarious, man, and I get it. He's a character, man. He's coming for comedy, so you can't get pissed off with Charleston. Charleston is a shock jock. He's just trying to get people to laugh. He has a way of moving you with words, man, and the guy is great at it, man. So let's move on with the content, though. I think we know what time it is.
They made, think about this. They used to have a whole doctrine on how to make a slave. It wasn't no before American slavery. It was Africans and Chinese, but the Nigger, they was made right here in America.
And what do you mean by that?
Racism exists. Well, they got a book on how to make the slaves. Once they stopped importing Africans into America, right? Once they stopped, hey, no more import and export African. Well, the United States of America told the world, y'all can't tell us what we can't have no more slaves. So we gonna start breeding these motherfuckers right here. Okay, we can't import them, so we gonna make them right here.
But in Africa,
so they made.
In Africa,
no, we're not talking about Africa. We're talking about America. None of us was raised in Africa. Most of us never been to Africa, so we don't care about what went on in Africa. We're talking about how blacks are treated here in America. But you already know Jesse Lee Peterson is going to do anything in his power so that he doesn't have to hold white people accountable. Well, in Africa, we don't care about Africa. None of us are from Africa. Our parents are not from Africa. Our grandparents, our great-grandparents, they didn't come from Africa. They was born and raised right here in America. So African culture has no effect on us. We wasn't raised there. We was raised right here on American soil. So let's deal with that situation. But like I said, Jesse Lee Peterson will deflect and do anything in his power so that he doesn't have to hold white people accountable for anything.
Before the
States of America told the world, y'all can't tell us what we can't have no more slaves. So we gonna start breeding these motherfuckers right here. Okay, we can't import them, so we gonna make them right here.
But in Africa,
so they made.
In Africa, before the Arabs went there and bought the blacks from the other blacks, blacks were treated worse in Africa by other blacks.
Listen, I thank God for slavery, because I wouldn't want to be an African. I don't give a damn about Africa. I'm glad they came and got our mother up out of Africa. I don't attach myself to Africa. I'm a proud American.
Yeah.
So I don't say to my mama, say all things work for the good of those who love the Lord and is called according to his will and his purpose.
Absolutely.
Slavery was a good thing. Yeah, they rescued our mother. I would have hated to grow up in Africa. I hate if what we were near now, man. I'm so proud of slavery because it built some will and his purpose.
Absolutely.
Slavery was a good thing. God for slavery, because I wouldn't want to be. We gonna start breeding these motherfuckers right here. Okay, we can't import them, so we gonna make them right here.
But in Africa,
so they made.
In Africa, before the Arabs went there and bought the blacks from the other blacks, blacks were treated worse in Africa by other blacks.
I thank God for slavery, because I wouldn't want to be an African. I don't give a damn about Africa. I'm glad they came and got our mother up out of Africa. I don't attach myself to Africa. I'm a proud American.
Yeah.
So I don't say to my mama, say all things work for the good of those who love the Lord and is called according to his will and his purpose.
Absolutely.
Slavery was a good thing. Yeah, they rescued our mother. I would have hated to grow up in Africa. I hate if what we were near now, man. I'm so proud of slavery because it built some tenacious people.
Yeah.
It made, before slavery wasn't no, it was people. Then the niggas came along and the strong. Wasn't nobody else strong enough to build America like them were.
Are you a Christian?
No, man, I'm a believer. I'm not no Christian, because you got to read the books. And I don't want to read the doctrines. I just want to believe that God exists and that Jesus walked the earth at one point in time. No, I watched my mama. So I ain't no Christian. I just believe.
And you believe what?
That God is real and you can talk to him without the preaching. You ain't never got to read the Bible to access the Holy Spirit.
And how has that helped you?
Well, boy, I used to be a mother. back in my day. I used to didn't believe in God. Then when I tried to start believing in God, I went to Islam. And that's while I was in jail. I practiced the Islam faith. Then when I got tired of the Islam faith, I started serving the Crip God, the gangbanging God. Then once I got tired of the gangbanging God, I started serving the pimp God. Once I got tired of the pimp God, I just started serving Satan. I just started serving Satan. I just started saying, fuck Jesus, God, fuck Buddhists. And then I got to the point where I submitted. I had an awakening. It wasn't.
You say you had an awakening?
Yeah, I had an awakening. It wasn't from no bad choices. I wasn't in jail. I had a dream one day, and in this dream, I was standing on stage talking to some children, and all of my buddies who was incarcerated with me in the juvenile facility, they appeared in this dream, and we were sharing our life stories with them. And then my brother appeared. Well, I got an older brother who's serving a 99-year prison sentence for a murder he committed when he was 17. And so at the end of this dream, we all enter into these individual doors with blinding bright lights. And so I wake up out my sleep. I probably was about 23, 24 at the time, trying to find that identity that you asked about earlier. And my mother had asked me, son, you want to go to church? And I thought that was strange. I said, no, because I wasn't into that. And it was like 2 weeks before Christmas. So
come back closer to your mic.
So it was like 2 weeks before Christmas, right? So I sat on the back porch and rolled me up a joint of weed and got high. And as I was getting high, I had this overwhelming fear or urge to go to church and put some money in church. So I went to this church, sat on the back row, and this preacher walked out and he looked at me. First thing I said, well, damn, somebody done told this motherfucker I smell like weed. You need to get out of here. So I sit there. He began to preach about Joseph.
All right, let's go to the next clip. Oh, man, that was funny. That was funny. Hit the like button, man. Show some love to the show. Hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Good. How the hell did I get back here? But what's up, Jesse?
We had a good time on the radio show.
We did.
What is an anti-racism advocate?
Yeah, I'm an anti-racism strategist. I look up for ways to try to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice, because unfortunately we're in a global system where white supremacy dominates all areas of activity. So we need to replace that system with a just system.
Define white supremacy.
White supremacy means people who believe through speech, thought, and action that they should dominate, control, and mistreat people classified as non-white. And we're dominated by that system completely globally.
How do you know that?
Because they said it. The people who put white supremacy in action, they specifically said that they were doing that. You go back to the
What's crazy is Jesse Lee Peterson pretends like he doesn't understand what Tariq Nasheed is talking about, as if Tariq Nasheed is just making these things up. That's what gets me about Jesse. Jesse pretends like he don't know. Like the obvious isn't so obvious. Like he just don't know what's going on. Like, what's white supremacy? What is that? I don't understand what it is. It's crazy. It's a system. Now, black people can be successful individually, right, as individuals, but what we're saying is there's still a system. You can't ignore the system that's been in place in this country. It's been that system has been intact. That system has been in place for centuries in this country. But people like Jesse pretends like it doesn't exist. That's what's crazy about talking to this dude. One thing you got to understand about Jesse, he's not going to hold white people accountable for anything, but he's going to hold blacks accountable for everything. Hold blacks accountable for everything, but doesn't hold whites accountable for anything. That's the mindset of a Jesse Lee Peterson. That's the mindset of an Anton Daniels. That's the mindset of an Officer Tatum. The Hodge twins, you know, people like that have the same mindset. They're reading. All of these people are reading from the same playbook. They all have the same talking points. Blame blacks for everything, but hold whites accountable for nothing.
Called forefathers of this nation, and even in some of the European nations, they specifically said we're going to create a system of white supremacy where the people who are classified as non-white will be the inferiors. And they put these things into law, they put them into practice, and they put them into military defense. They defended these laws militarily, and that's where we are now.
And you said globally they've done this.
Globally, absolutely.
And so white people are smarter than black people, and have they done this to all other people? Or
yeah, all
just
people.
black
All people. No, all people are
all
dominated.
All people color.
All people who are classified as non-white, they are dominated by the white supremacists.
So how are white people God's chosen people?
No.
Because you say no?
No.
Then why were they able to sit down and make a decision like that? We're going to build a system that control all people of color. We're going to do this and do that, and then the people of color have fallen into that.
Great
so
question.
somebody had to be smart and somebody had to be dumb.
Yep.
And it seems to me that the people of color are the dumb one, because as you said, it's the white people who are making this happen, right?
I agree 100%.
And
well, white people did. One thing I can say, because I'm honest about this, for white people to dominate everybody, the white people were outthinking everybody. They were thinking 10 steps ahead, while everybody else was just living in the moment. So if we're going to be honest, white people came up with a master plan to dominate not only this country, to dominate globally. So the white man came up with a master plan. You know, we can say it was demonic. We can say that it wasn't right. We can say that morally it was wrong. But let's talk about this. Let's talk about dominating and conquering. The white man had a master. The white man came up with a master plan. I will say that. Because for him to dominate for centuries, and yes, the white man most definitely had a master plan to dominate, to conquer everybody.
Why not overcome being dumb rather than trying to stop the smart man from doing what he does?
Non-white people are too dumb to get smart.
Really?
Yeah.
So
because Neely Fuller, there's a brother named Neely Fuller who said that the white supremacists, and I separate white people and white supremacists. There's three people, as our brother Neely Fuller said, on the planet. You have white, non-white, and white supremacists. The white supremacists are the smartest people on the planet. I 100% agree with that.
Wow. And God made them that way?
No, God didn't make them that way, but they just evolved that way because they knew that their numbers were low in the global scheme of the planet. So they had to come up with ways to survive, and they had to come up with codes. So they had to codify their actions with each other to dominate the rest of the planet. And people who are non-white, they haven't figured out those codes, and they don't understand that they have to have codes in order to combat that. So we're still fighting over tribal bullshit. And that's our problem as people who are victims of white supremacy. And we haven't been smart enough to figure that out. So I agree with you.
See, I don't make videos about white supremacy all day, but at the same time, I'm not gonna ignore the fact that it exists. You know, and that's not to say that black people can't be successful, because there's tons of black people who are successful, but we're not gonna pretend like that system doesn't exist. We're not gonna play that game either. Right. So I'm gonna be honest all across the board with this whole conversation, right? But according to Jesse Lee Peterson, racism doesn't exist. It's only a figment of your imagination. Words of Jesse Lee Peterson.
That extent.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to do with God, you know, just because somebody's dominating
human beings.
Okay,
and it will have to have something to do with him.
Well,
if he made white people smart, and you sound like he only made a few white people smart enough to control the world. And make people of color do what they want to do.
So if you can dominate people
and control them.
So let me understand what you're asking. So if you can dominate people and control people, God made you smarter.
No, well, there are evil people who can do that too.
Right. So I agree. That's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of white supremacists.
But
they are evil.
But they're still controlling dumb people, because you have to be dumb to allow someone to even.
Hit the like button if you haven't already. No, white people are not necessarily smarter. White people were just more evil. And if you're judging that by history, then you understand exactly what I'm saying. Like, take your feelings out of it and look at the history of this country. You know, white people were the only people willing to go that far to dominate and conquer other groups of people. They were the ones who were willing to do it. right? Everybody else was just trying to live off the land and do what they do. The white man came with a master plan to dominate and to conquer everybody globally, not just here in this country, right? So
to manipulate and control you. But I want to ask you this.
Well, let's unpack that though. I don't want to lose that. That was very interesting. And I would have to ask you: were Jewish people in Nazi Germany dumb for being dominated by Hitler?
There are, and you mentioned the Jews. There are white people who are blaming the Jews for their situation.
Right.
If these people are so smart, why can't they manipulate the Jews too?
If who's smart now?
If the whites are so smart, as you say that they are,
right.
supremacists,
right.
supremacists, why can't?
Right. The white man did create those firearms, man. So you got to think, man. Shit, the white man. I mean, you do got to get a white man some props for being smart, for thinking 10 steps ahead of everybody else. So he was thinking ahead. Now, the white man had evil intentions, but let's be real across the board. He came up with the white man came up with a master plan to dominate and to conquer everybody globally. And that takes a whole lot of critical thinking. You got to strategize, you got to organize, and it takes critical thinking skills to actually pull that off. I got to be honest about that.
They control the Jews.
Okay, you have to define what a Jewish person is now, because the definition of Jewish kind of fluctuates, because you have Jewish people who are classified as white. So
and are you putting all those in the same basket?
No, because you have Jewish people who are black too, because that's why I want to define what a Jewish person is racially.
So, but when you mention white supremacy,
you overlook that, brother.
You got to define
to that. Okay,
so
you got to define what a Jewish person is racially.
First, I'm trying to find out.
But see, back in Nazi Germany, they had a clear definition of what it was racially, because the thing is, the Jewish people were white, but they weren't white enough. So they wanted to get out the mulatto strain out of Europe. They've always done that. Even Stalin did that. There was another Holocaust before that with the Holodomor that they had in the Ukraine. So there's always been this thing of getting out that darker melanated bloodline, no matter how thin it is, out of Europe. They've been doing that for a long time. So a lot of Jewish people are classified as white now. So
are you personally classifying the Jews with the whites that you call white supremacists?
No, because you have white Jews and you have black Jews.
So are any Jews in that category of white supremacists?
Yes, you have Jews in the Klan. There's Jews in the Klan. There's Jews in the alt-right. You have a lot of Jews who do practice white supremacy. Therefore,
and are there blacks in that too?
If they're practicing white supremacy, are they really Jewish? Because white supremacy is its own religion.
Are blacks included in that category as white supremacy as well?
You can't be a black white supremacist.
You said they were black Jews,
right? But
I
didn't say.
Yeah, you got to think, man. In order to conquer and dominate, you're gonna have to get down and dirty. You're gonna have to be evil. You're gonna have to get down and dirty. You don't dominate people by being nice to them, right? I'm talking about true domination. You want to conquer a group of people. Not only do you want to dominate, you want to conquer these people. So that takes a certain level of evil to pull that off. The white man had a master plan. The white man strategized his game plan, and he was victorious. You know, that takes a lot of plotting, planning, strategizing, and organizing to pull something like that off, regardless if I agree with them or not. Hit the like button, man. Support the show. Let's dive back into this conversation. Man.
In the black
but none
Jews,
of them are white supremacists?
No, because as a matter of fact, over in Israel, the black Jews are being persecuted and punished, and they have lawsuits against people practicing white supremacy on them.
So just to get it right, there are white supremacists, and there are some of them are mixed with white Jews who are white supremacists. And you said there are black Jews, but no black Jews are white supremacists.
What I'm saying,
are you saying that?
Because I don't know, you're kind of muddling all of these definitions, and I want to make it very clear. White supremacy transcends religion. You can't equate race and religion and make it the same thing. Race and religion is two different things.
But according to you, no blacks are a part of the white supremacist movement.
Well, they're black collaborators. They're black collaborators with white supremacy, but they can't be white supremacists themselves. They're still victims of white supremacy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What is it like being a man?
He said, amazing. Now, Jesse Lee Peterson is not going to agree with anything that Tariq Nasheed is saying, even though Tariq Nasheed has the receipts and, history backs up what he's saying. Jesse Lee Peterson is going to find a way to flip this, and he's going to find a way to put the onus on black people, right? He's never going to hold white people accountable for anything, so you might as well forget about that. That's never going to happen. He'll never hold whites accountable for anything. He's not going to do it. You know, so just please understand that. Please understand that. That ain't going to never happen.
And spending a lifetime looking at white people and complaining about them and trying to get them to let you be a supremacist or a real man. I can't imagine living a lifetime thinking that some other man, whether he's white, black, Jewish, whatever it might be, Asian, is holding me back in life. As a man yourself,
right?
What does that feel like?
Well, I don't.
Well, that's what people do. You know, they take your stuff and take credit, right? That's been a playbook for centuries in this country. I take from you, I dominate you, I conquered you, then I take credit for everything. That's systematic white supremacy, systemic racism. That's exactly what it is. I'm going to dominate you. I'm going to conquer you. You're going to do all the work, and I'm going to sit back and take all the credit, and I'm going to monetize everything. I'm going to patent everything. I'm going to take credit for everything that you build. I'm going to take credit for everything that you do, except for the bad stuff, right? So that's usually how it works.
Complain to the white supremacists. All of my messages are for the victims of white supremacy.
Right, but your whole thing is about the white man.
The white supremacists, the white supremacists, not the white man, the white supremacists.
Right, it's still about men. They are white men.
No, the white supremacists, because you have white female supremacists too.
So men and women, white.
No, white supremacists.
Right.
Let's be very
clear.
What
does it feel like to be a man who believe that these people are holding you back?
Right.
And so you spend a whole lifetime building your life around them, trying to stop them, and they're moving on with life and doing what they do anyway.
They're not moving on with life. They're still criticizing black people for a lot of these problems in this country. So they're not just living their life and moving on. White people today, you still got hate groups who can't stand black people. Now, if you dominated black people and you conquered them, why are you so worried about them? Nothing black people do should affect you, especially when you've dominated and conquered them for centuries in this country. I mean, just think about it. So for him to say that, he's not being honest with himself, so you know he's not going to be honest with anybody who listens.
Right.
What does that feel like?
What do you mean, what does it feel like? I feel like a victim of white supremacy.
So you feel like a victim?
I'm a victim. I'm a victim of white supremacy. Yeah.
And so are they holding you back financially?
Holding me back financially? Well, they can.
Are they?
They can.
Are they?
They can.
No, but are they?
They can.
Well, I didn't ask you if they could.
They can. If I get too powerful, yeah, they'll chop my stuff down just like they chop everybody else's stuff down. Now, for example, we get into that money. I want to unpack that.
No.
I want to unpack.
The conversation comes back to this, and I always come back to this. White people will say, well, you guys have the same rights that we have today. Yeah, man, but you can't rig a system for 400 years, then say, oh, now all of a sudden we're on an equal playing field when a game been rigged for 300 plus years. That it doesn't work like that. That's like we're playing a basketball game. You cheat for 3 quarters, and by the time the 4th quarter comes, you say, "Oh man, everything is equal. Everything is we're on an equal playing field." But you just cheated for 3 quarters and never gave me it. And none of the points that I scored, the points that I scored in the first 3 quarters don't matter. All the points that you scored in the first 3 quarters, it matters. Your points are on the scoreboard. We start out the 4th quarter with 0, but then you want to fix your mouth and say, we're on an equal playing field. You have the same rights that we have. Fool, you just cheated for 3 quarters. Fool, you just cheated for 3 to 4 centuries. Now you want to talk about an even playing field? This is crazy, man.
Are they holding you back?
You can make a lot of money. They'll do the Bill Cosby thing. They can put all types of crazy charges on you. They can deplete your money. So
are they holding you back financially?
What do you mean are they holding me back? I'm in a prison called white supremacy that's global. So we're allowed, certain black people are allowed to have certain resources, but they know they can take it back.
Are they holding Tariq Nasheed back financially?
I'm in a system where they can hold me back.
But right now they're not holding you back.
Well, they can hold me back.
Are they holding you back?
Define holding me back.
You don't know are they holding you back from being successful in your life?
Well, I'm successful because I understand white supremacy, and I'm successful as far as I can be, as much as I can be, because they can stop my success at the drop of a hat. There was Malcolm X was successful until they killed him. Dr. King was successful until they killed him. Well, so I can still be killed no matter how much money I have.
Are you saying
so I don't define my success through money.
right now they're not holding you back.
Yes, I'm telling you, in a system of white supremacy, they can murder me with impunity right now.
Do you feel that they
what is
are
holding me back? There was
So you got to think, look at it like this. Anton Daniels is never going to hold white folks accountable for anything. Jesse Lee Peterson won't hold whites accountable for anything either. Like, none of these black conservatives ever hold white people accountable. But they'll hold black people accountable all day, and they'll ignore everything that whites have done in this country. Why? Because they pander to that audience to make their money. And when you pander to an audience like that to make money, that means you can't hold them accountable and still get paid, right? If Jesse Lee Peterson started holding white people accountable, his money would dry up. The views that he get, that will drop. The sponsors that he get, that will go away. Why? Because he built his whole platform pandering to MAGA conservative people. That's how Jesse built this platform. So he's never going to hold those people accountable. That's who pays him. He's not going to do it.
In Nazi Germany, you had rich Jews going into the gas chamber. So holding me back, were they held back?
Do you feel that the white supremacist male is a better man than you?
No, they're smarter than black people collectively. Yes.
Are they smarter than you?
Black people, well, to a certain degree, I would say yes, because I haven't figured out how to replace the system of white supremacy with justice yet. So I guess I'm not smart enough because I haven't figured it out yet. That's why I work every day to try to figure that out.
Do you believe that human beings are in a fallen state?
What does that mean?
Have fallen away from God?
Well, if you want to talk about God, Jesse, why do you praise the same group of people who practice things that are clearly ungodly? Slavery is ungodly. Jim Crow is ungodly. Lynching somebody because of their skin color, that has nothing to do with God. So if you want to talk about God, how come you don't hold these people accountable when you think about the racism, the atrocities, systematic white supremacy, systemic racism that took place in this country? So if you're a man of God, surely you're going to hold that particular group of people. You're going to hold that particular group of people accountable, but he's not, because those are the same people who write his check. So not in a million years, he's never going to hold him accountable. So he needs to stop talking about God, because he's selective when it comes to who he wants to hold accountable. And then he'll say, well, you're not living by the word of God. Well, the same people that you praise and worship, they're not living by the word of God, and you never hold them accountable. That ain't something that a man of God would do. That's hypocrisy. You have selective outrage. Like, if you're going to call somebody out for going against a religion or somebody who's not living by the word of God, you're not going to be selective with that. You're going to hold everybody accountable equally, whether they're white people, black people, green or purple. But Jesse is very selective when it's time to hold somebody accountable. Like, he'll hold black people accountable for everything, but he won't hold white folks accountable for nothing.
Human beings falling away from God?
Yes.
No, not all. No, that's interesting, though. Falling away from God. So how do you fall away from God?
So first,
if God is omnipresent, how do you fall away from something that's omnipresent?
Let me just ask first, do you believe that human beings are in a fallen state?
Brother, I'm trying to get you to define what you're saying.
I'm trying to hear your thought. You're my guest. I'm trying to see how you are seeing things.
But I don't know what you mean, though. Because again, I'm in a system of white supremacy, so I'm not as smart. Because you have access to the white supremacists. You're close with them, so you're a little smarter than me.
I'm as smart as you are.
You're a little smarter than me.
If you can't
I just need clarity.
If you can't beat them, join them.
Yes. And I know them butter biscuits are good in the big house. And
it's always served. So let me ask.
But what do you mean by falling state?
Falling away from God.
Falling away from God how?
Do you believe in God?
Of course.
And so how do you know you believe in God?
I feel the presence of God because I'm a minister, so I believe in God. Oh yeah, I told you that last time, Jesse.
You may have. Are you a Christian minister?
Yeah, I'm an all-denominational minister.
What does that mean?
That means that all denominations come from African spiritual systems. So I look at it from that perspective. Buddhism, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, all of that stuff comes from African spiritual systems, and that's where I come in, and that's how I practice it.
And so based on what you know as a minister and your relationship with God, do you believe that human beings are in a fallen state based on your teaching?
Okay, fallen state
away from
what?
God.
Away from God, how?
No, just give me a yes or no on it.
I can't give a
So
yes or
let
no.
me ask you
You're
this way.
You're asking me, that's like,
Is
well,
it possible to fall away from God?
That's like asking me, does a unicorn's horns taste like granola bars? I don't know what you're talking about. You got to really, you just got to be very clear on what you're asking me.
You don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what fallen state means.
Is it possible?
Well, fallen by meaning if you're victims of white supremacy, yes, we have fallen. Yeah.
Is it possible for human beings to turn away from God?
Yeah, the white supremacists, they've turned away from God. So they're a very clear example, and we are now worshiping them. We're subject to the white supremacists. So yes, we worship white supremacy now, unfortunately.
You worship the white man?
No, unfortunately, brothers like you, and I'm not disparaging you, Jesse, but too many people collaborate with the white supremacists, and that's been one of our problems for a long time.
And when you say collaborate, in what way?
Collaborate by regurgitating their talking points and allowing themselves to be shields for the white supremacists. And that's been the thing that has kept white supremacy in power, because African people, unfortunately, we started to say, let them take the wheel, because we had a lot of fallen empires. Even before the white supremacists came in, there was a lot of infighting in Africa. So in order to build that, it takes a lot of strength and discipline. So a lot of Africans said, okay, we'll just let them.
Let me ask you this. Speaking of Africa, Mommy Africa, what happened to black people in Africa that they allowed the wealthy blacks to sell them to the to the Arabs, and the Arabs went out and sold them around the world? Why, if blacks are so, were they smart in Africa, or were they dumb in Africa, or were they just Africa?
Well, they were smart, and what happened, there was a lot of warfare that happened.
Between the blacks?
Between the Africans. There was a lot of...
Make sure that you guys bless the like button, man. And also support the Cash App, support the show. I wanted to bring this show. This is a throwback, man, but it's relevant to everything that's going on today. And that's why I decided to cover this content.
Infighting in any nation or any continent, there's always going to be infighting. There was infighting all over Asia. There was a lot of infighting in Europe. The Europeans were killing each other left and right.
But in Africa,
Africa, there was the same thing. There was a lot of infighting. But the thing is,
black conservatives who identify as Christians, they're fake Christians. Because if Jesse truly believed in the word of God, then of course he would hold white people accountable for everything they've done in this country throughout the history of this country. He would hold them accountable for that. Surely he would. So Jesse is selective when it comes to who he decides to hold accountable. He's selective with that, right? You're not going to hold the perpetrators of racism accountable, but you got the nerve to talk about the word of God and how people should be living and how we must love and respect one another. It's mighty funny that those same rules don't apply to white folks. They only apply to black folks.
With Africans, they let other groups come in and infiltrate them. Europe, they didn't really do that. Well, the Moors came in, African black people came in and really civilized the Europeans for a long time, but then they started infighting in Europe. And that's been one of our problems as African people. We do too much damn infighting. So other people can come in and infiltrate us.
So are you aware that in Africa, blacks sold other blacks? You are aware of that, right, into slavery?
Well, this is the new channel, bro. Like, this is the new channel. So if you're on the live stream right now, you're on the new channel. You know, that's exactly where you at. Make sure that you guys put some love and respect on the channel. Support the show. Hey, man, I bring you these conversations because it's relevant to everything that's going on right now, right? With the black conservatives blaming black people for everything, but not holding white people accountable for anything. Your Arbiter Tatums, your Anton Daniels, the Hodge twins, the Jason Whitlocks. Jason Whitlock can't stay away from the pork chops and ham hocks. You know, Candace Owens. You know, Jesse Lee Peterson, and a long list of others.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a lie.
You're not aware of that?
No. That's a lie.
At one point in Africa, blacks were using other blacks as money. Did you know that?
That's like saying, well, Sheriff Clark is, we should blame him because blacks are in jail in Milwaukee. I mean, he's a victim of white supremacy himself. He's a collaborator.
You talking about the True Spoken podcast? I'll post that right now, and I will get you guys some content over there on that channel, because I know a lot of people that's been rocking with me from the beginning. They like, man, we don't care about none of this political stuff, man. Where's the game? You know, we want to hear the content about dating and female nature. A lot of you guys want that content, so I still have content like that from some for my some of my day one fans, some of the people that's been rocking with me from the beginning. A lot of you guys still want that content, and guess what? We will have content, man. It'll be similar to like Tariq Nasheed's Mac lesson, but I'm gonna have my own modern day twist to it, man. Game delivered by Red Supreme. So I'm gonna drop that right now in the comments for you guys, so you can get on over there and subscribe to that channel. And I will be dropping content over there later on today and first thing tomorrow.
I'm just giving an example.
Clark is a victim of white supremacy.
Oh yeah. And I'm using him as an example. Just like in Africa, by the time, hold on, bro, let me unpack that, bro. Let me unpack that, brother.
Blacks selling other blacks. You said that did not happen.
Let me unpack that, because the thing is, it wasn't a collaborative effort between black people saying, okay, we're going to get together and just sell other black folks. The white supremacists came in the middle of that, unfortunately, and there was infighting, so they would sell their prisoners to the white supremacists. And a lot of Africans, once they found out what happened, like Madam Tinubu.
See, you got to be real, man. You know, white people use that to justify the foul treatment of blacks in America. So what they'll say, well, the Africans told you, the Africans did this. We're not talking about what went on in Africa. We're talking about how blacks were treated here in America. Most black Americans ain't never been to Africa. Some of us have, but the overwhelming majority of us have not been. And a lot of us don't even care about going. Some of us do, but a lot of us don't. So when they bring up what went on in Africa, that's clearly that's a deflection. We're talking about what's going on here in America. We don't live in Africa. We wasn't raised in Africa. So talking about Africa is irrelevant, especially if we're talking about what's going on right here on American soil, the United States of America, to be exact. Hit the like button, man, to support the chat. Bless the like button. It ain't nothing. Subscribe to the True Spoken podcast. I just dropped it in the chat.
In Zinga, they fought the Europeans off once they found out they were not bringing the African people back. So there's a lot of history to that. But Africa was already dominated.
So let me, because of time, don't be talking so fast and so long.
Okay.
Angry man, you already know what angry man is. Angry man want to be a hood conservative. He want to be somebody who claims to be from the hood, but he agrees with a lot of these talking points that comes from right-wing MAGA conservatives. That's the type of guy that angry man is. You know, he wants to straddle the fence of being somebody who's from the hood, but at the same time, he panders to a right-wing MAGA audience. That's what he does to make money. That's how he grew his subscribers on his channel. I'm going to keep it a buck with you.
You remind me of...
don't talk fast. But look, I got to get you out the sunken place. Look in the flat.
So angry man is a fence straddler. He wants to be a hood ninja, but then he wants to pander to those right-wing MAGA people for money, to gain more followers, to get more subscribers. So angry man is a fence straddler. 1 minute he wants to play like he's a real ninja. The next minute he's pandering to right-wing MAGA conservatives. Angry man can't be trusted. Clearly, angry man is pandering to make $1 on YouTube. The man is not solid. He's not being real. I spoke on this a long time ago.
You remind me of
what?
Professor, what's that black guy name? He says a whole lot of words but no meaning. Dyson. You know who Dyson is?
Yeah, no. So you saying I'm not meaning? Are you saying I'm saying a lot of words and no meaning?
Yeah,
Jesse?
you're speaking fast and you're speaking long, but you're not making any sense at all. You're not making any sense.
Damn, Jesse.
Let me move on to something else I didn't know about you.
Okay, good. What's that?
You've written, from what I read here, several books.
Hey, it works for him, man. Listen, one thing I can say, I'ma always admit the truth. What he's doing over there is working for them. It's working for him. It's working for him. There's a lot of black people who support that content. There's a lot of white people who support his content. So obviously, it's working for him. Now, we can judge him morally, but if we're talking about success and money, yes, clearly it's working for him. He got way more followers. He got way more subscribers. He got way more people who support his platform. So yes, in that regard, it is working for him. Straight up. Can't deny the facts. He found a recipe that works for him. Right? Now, we can say that he's a COO own, he's a Sambo, he's a sellout, he panders to a right-wing MAGA audience, and you would be 100% correct if you said that. But angry man could care less about how black people views him. He only cares about the money and the subscribers that he gets to his channel. That's the only thing that he's concerned about. He doesn't care about how black people view him. He don't care. It's all about making money. He could care less how black people looks at him. Jesse Lee Peterson could care less how blacks look at him. As long as he's getting paid for what he does, that's the only thing that matters to him. So when you think about the Officer Tatums, the Angry Mans, the Anton Daniels, they don't They don't care that black people look at them to in a certain. No, they care to a certain extent, but they don't care enough. But they don't care enough to stop doing what they're doing. So obviously, the money matters more. They might care to a certain extent when it comes to the things that black people say about them, but the money that they make is more important. So they'll sacrifice their integrity and reputation as long as they're getting paid the money that they feel like they deserve to get paid. And that's the reality.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're right on relationships.
Okay.
And one is called
Jesse,
the art
of Mackin. Jesse,
of
you about to,
Mackin.
are we about to start deflecting, Jesse, into some?
So they only care to a certain extent about how black people feel about them, how black people view them. You know what I mean? The money and the subscribers and the followers that they make is far more important. So integrity and reputation in the black community really doesn't matter as long as they can get to the money and get a large following like King Solomon. Please follow me on that. So they only care about that to a certain extent. They might care a little bit, but ultimately it's not going to stop them from producing the content that they produce, because this is what they're going to say. Well, I make more money talking down on black folks and pandering to whites. Now, when I made content uplifting black people, I only had a certain amount of black people who supported me. But now that I'm critical of black people, holding them accountable and pandering to this right-wing MAGA audience, I'm making way more money doing that. So why should I go back to preaching to black folks and they barely gonna support me? That's the mentality.
Pick a quote out of my book and then
first,
try to.
What is the art of Mackin?
Jesse. I used to write dating and relationship books, Jesse. So you pretty much, I know you're from.
He said Tariq Nasheed is disgusting. What is so disgusting about Tariq Nasheed? So you said nothing about Jesse Lee Peterson. Your problem is with Tariq Nasheed. Let me ask you something, bro. Should we have more black men? Should we have more black men like Jesse Lee Peterson or Tariq Nasheed? I'm gonna ask you this question, bro. What's your name? Girl speak. Girl speak. Should black men be more like Jesse Lee Peterson or Tariq Nasheed? I'm asking you an honest question. Cause shit.
Familiar with some of the books.
I'm not, but
you are. You're familiar.
But I'm not.
Yes, Jesse, you were familiar with the book. Well, just flies you dress and the white women you be macking.
That's why I asked Girl Speak. I said, okay, should the world have more Tariq Nasheeds or more Jesse Lee Petersons? Right? Simple question. I'm looking for a simple answer.
Play about yours, dude. You know about some macking. You older than me. You know about macking. You know what macking is. Macking is talking to women. You know that.
Oh, so macking means talking to women.
That's what it is.
So the art of talking to women.
And my book kicked off what they call the PUA movement, the pickup artist movement. A lot of white.
Listen, man, Lions Dollars and SR Serum can't be the only people supporting these shows, man. I told y'all why a lot of black people start cooning, man, because they say, well, shit, man, I'm gonna make more money speaking down on black people. I can't make that much money uplifting black people and saying positive things. I'll make way more money holding them accountable, denigrating them. So that's why a lot of guys decided to hop on that conservative, the black conservative train. Ringo TV, can't forget about him. Clearly, he's making more money denigrating black folks opposed to when he spoke for them or if he said things to uplift them. Ringo is a prime example of what I'm saying. Angry Man is a prime example of what I'm saying. They're making more money denigrating black people opposed to uplifting them and saying nice things. So at the end of the day, if you're in this business to make money, you're going to say, why say nice things about black people when they're barely going to support me? But if I denigrate these black people, then I'm going to really get paid. So at the end of the day, people have made money. Money is the most important thing. They don't care about the way that blacks view them, or they don't care about how blacks really feel about them, because what they're going to say is black people wasn't supporting me anyway. So why should I feel bad denigrating them when they didn't support me in the first place? So that's all the motivation that they need to become coons and sambos. I'm not losing anything by denigrating the black. I'm not losing anything by denigrating the black community. If anything, I gain more money by denigrating these people. I'm not losing money denigrating black people. In reality, I'm losing money uplifting black people. That's crazy that I'm actually losing more money uplifting these people. I'm losing money doing that. Denigrating them, oh man, I'm getting paid. My subscribers are going up. People are supporting the platform. You know, we're getting super chats, cash apps, PayPals, Venmos, Zelles. We're getting all of that. I lose nothing denigrating black people. I might have a few black people that hate me, that despise me, but guess what? That's not going to stop my money. And unfortunately, that becomes the mentality.
Who's got my book, and they started the whole pickup artist movement based on the stuff in my book. So it was about dating and relationships. Those pickup artist dudes picked up on that and started using a lot of my stuff. Some of them even plagiarized my book. And what was interesting, a lot of those pickup artists started to morph into.
Look at Tariq Nasheed. Tariq Nasheed has been at 200-some thousand subscribers for a few years. Angry Man got 800K subs. Anton Daniel got 900-something thousand subs. Ringo TV is at 200-something thousand subs. Right now, Tariq Nasheed gets money, so you can't judge. You can't look at Tariq Nasheed's subscriber count and try to say what type of money he's making, because the man is good at what he does and he makes a lot of money. And the people come out in droves to support Tariq Nasheed. Now, Angry Man couldn't do a speaking engagement and get people to really show up to that. But if Tariq Nasheed did a speaking engagement, thousands of people are gonna show up. So that shows you that YouTube subscribers don't really mean something in a large scheme of things. Now, it matters to a certain extent when you're producing content, but I gave you that example. If Angry Man said he was going to do a speaking engagement, he's not going to get the same number of people that a Tariq Nasheed can get, even though Angry Man has triple the amount of subscribers. Angry Man has 800,000 subscribers. Tariq Nasheed has 200-something thousand subscribers. But people in real life take Tariq Nasheed serious. Angry Man he's an internet personality where he got a bunch of people to subscribe to the channel. But if he did a speaking engagement, not too many people gonna show up to hear what Angry Man has to say about the community. They just ain't gonna show up like that. Now, if Tariq Nasheed did a speaking engagement, thousands of people across the country gonna pull up to hear what he has to say. That's the major difference.
To the alt-right, and they became some hardcore white supremacists. So this is one reason why I tie in race and relationships when it comes to dating and when it comes to any kind of interaction, because race is going to always come up.
Do you believe that black men should marry or date or marry white women?
I mean, if they choose.
You okay with that?
Yeah, if they choose.
Okay.
As long as you're not a.
Should they?
Yeah.
But how would you know they're not a? They married to a white person, they could be a, according to your rules.
Well, based on their actions. It's about an action, a mentality that you have. So you date a person who's non-black, and then you start collaborating to harm black people collectively. Well, that's the thing that makes you. When you proactively engage in behavior that will harm other black people.
Are all black people one?
All black people one.
Except the ones you guys call the sellout. Are all black people one?
We're all victims of white supremacy. So yes, in that respect, yes.
I noticed that a lot of black men are dating outside of the black race. Mm-hmm. They're not dating and marrying black women. Do you know why that is?
Because when you look at the media.
Now, let's see if Tariq Nasheed gonna keep it 100 with that. Now, I wouldn't say a lot of black men are dating out of their race. I would say that it's more common to see, but I wouldn't say it's in large numbers, because the majority of white women date within their race. The majority of Latin women date within their race, unless you're talking about Puerto Rican chicks, because a lot of them are dating black men. That's a fact. I've dealt with that firsthand, so I speak from experience with that one. But what I'm saying is, when you think about it overall, we don't have this large number of blacks who are just dating outside of the race like that. There's a few of them, but it's not a whole lot of them like they're trying to portray.
Behavior that will harm other black people.
Are all black people one?
All black people one.
Except the ones you guys call the sellout. Are all black people one?
We're all victims of white supremacy. So yes, in that respect, yes.
I noticed that a lot of black men are dating outside of the black race. Mm-hmm. They're not dating and marrying black women. Do you know why that is?
Because when you look at the media and they show black women, they show you stuff like Precious, and they'll show you movies like The Blind Side. And black boys are growing up looking at black women in a negative light because the white supremacist media portrays that. They portray the black women.
Well, see, I had to disagree with Tariq Nasheed right there. It ain't just because of the media. It ain't just because of the media. a lot of black men have dealt with a lot of nonsense from black women. So we can't just blame it on media. Now, media plays a role in it, but at the same time, you have to look at the woman and their behavior. And the black woman herself has fed into a lot of these negative stereotypes just based on her behavior in real life. This is deeper than media. I'm talking about personal interactions. So for the most part, you know, black men, we don't have to look at media to gain an understanding of black women. We deal with black women personally. So I would say that yes, media does play a role in the way that people view another group of people. But if you're from the black community, you didn't deal with black women personally. So you don't need to look at media to have a great understanding of how modern black women are and how they operate. You know, I just got to keep it a stack. I just got to keep it a buck. Bless the like button. It ain't nothing. Shout out to my girl Trish for the Cash App. Shout out to Lions Dollar for the Cash App. Let's get some more of you people to become contributors and supporters of today's show. Sunday.
I noticed that a lot of black men are dating outside of the black race. They're not dating and marrying black women. Do you know why that is?
Because when you look at the media and they show black women, they show you stuff like Precious, and they'll show you movies like The Blind Side. And black boys are growing up looking at black women in a negative light because the white supremacist media portrays that. They portray the black women as negative, or the black women as mammies, and they portray the white women as princesses and goddesses and sex symbols. So when you see that nonstop, you're told that white is better, white is better, white is better. Unfortunately, that permeates in your mind. So,
oh, I see. So right. Is that happening because their mothers have set a bad example for them?
Is it the mothers?
That's why the media is able to turn them away from the black woman toward the white woman, because the black mothers have set bad examples for the boys.
No, like how would the black mother set a bad example?
But I'm asking you, is that's why
I don't know. You're telling me, this is new to me.
Why is the media able to turn them away? Because if they had
the media is very powerful.
If they had good mothers and good relationship with their mothers, they would naturally.
Well, that's not. I mean, I hear what Jesse Lee Peterson is saying. You got white children who grew up in two-parent homes, and they've strayed away from their teachings. Why? Because the influence of media, the influence of society. So a lot of children in the white community who grew up in decent homes with two parents, they strayed away from their parents' teachings because of the influence from modern society, the influence from media. So media is a powerful tool that is used to indoctrinate people. That is a fact. Bless the like button, support the Cash App. Let's get back to the content, man. But I like these questions, man. Keep them coming.
Goddesses and sex symbols. So when you see that nonstop, you're told that white is better.
I do agree with that. Like when you pro-black, you got to say nice things about black women. You know, you really can't. You can't keep it. I mean, you can, but you know, and I get it, man. Tariq Nasheed is my brother, man. Overall, Tariq Nasheed means good, and he does a lot of good for the community. So I'll never throw Tariq under the bus. But what I will say about pro-black men in general, they got to be careful when it's time to hold black women accountable. So they can only hold black women accountable to a certain extent, because if you take the gloves off and go all the way in, they're going to say that you're bashing black women and you hate black women. And you're going to lose a lot of your female followers. You're going to lose a lot of your female supporters, because we all know in the conscious black community, holding black women accountable could mess up your money. The same thing, and it's the same thing with black conservatives. Holding white people accountable, you're going to lose your money as a black conservative. Holding black women accountable in the black community, and you're a pro-black, and you take the gloves off to hold black women accountable, you're going to lose a lot of your female supporters holding black women accountable. That's a fact. You see how Red Supreme is honest? I told you how the conservatives, the black conservatives, can't hold white people accountable because that'll mess up their money. Well, with the pro-blacks, it's the same thing on the opposite end. If they hold black women accountable to the level that they deserve to be held accountable for the things they do, then they're going to lose their following. They're going to lose their support. They're going to lose a lot of money. So they got to tread lightly when it comes to holding the black women accountable. Just like conservative black men, conservative black people, they got to tread lightly when it comes to holding white people accountable, because that might mess up their money.
Better white is better. Unfortunately, that permeates in your mind. So,
oh, I see. So is that happening because their mothers have set a bad example for them?
Is it the mothers?
That's why the media is able to turn them away from the black woman toward the white woman, because the black mothers have set bad examples for the boys.
So like how
shout out to Scoop, man. I like how Scoop put that in the comment. The truth isn't profitable. The truth isn't profitable. Black conservatives can't be honest with white people and hold them accountable. They're going to mess up their money. Black men who are pro-black really can't hold black women accountable. Not really, because if they really hold them accountable, then they're going to lose money. They're going to lose support. See, I'm honest about things on every end. I'm not biased. Red Supreme is honest. I told you the flaws in pro-blacks, and I told you the flaws in black conservatives. I'm not holding no punches.
The black mother set a bad example.
But I'm asking you, that's why
I mean,
media,
I don't know. You telling me this is new to me.
Why is the media able to turn them away? Because if they had
the media is very powerful.
If they had good mothers and good relationship with their mothers, they would naturally be attracted to a black woman.
See, this is the thing. This is one thing you got to know. Now, if you're a black man who talks about dating and you're not really talking about race like that, you can hold black women accountable because there's an audience for that. There's a lot of people who want to listen to you because they know that you're being honest, especially if you are here dating modern black women. You understand how they are, and you understand that a lot of things about female nature coming from the red pill community, you understand that a lot of those talking points are actually true. Now, if you're a pro-black man, you know, you really can't hold black women accountable like that if you're a pro-black, because they're going to get pissed off. Black women ain't going to want to hear that. See, this is the thing. If you're a pro-black man, you can hold white people accountable and black men accountable. You just can't hold black women accountable. See, nobody would get upset with Tariq Nasheed if he said black men are dusty, they're ghetto, and they need to get their stuff together. Black men need to do better as men. Y'all need to man up. Nobody would get mad at Tariq Nasheed if he said that about black men. Now, on the flip side, if Tariq Nasheed said black women, you're ghetto, you ratchet, you wearing all these weaves, you sleep with all these different men, then you wonder why men don't want to marry you once you reach your 30s, because you didn't accumulated so many bodies, you didn't have all these sex partners. If Tariq Nasheed said that, and we all know that that situation applies to a lot of modern black females, but if Tariq Nasheed said that, the black community would get pissed off at him and they would say that he's bashing black women. He hates black women. But if he said black men are sorry, get your stuff together, man up, become more conscious, educate yourself, black men, learn how to do better for your women, no one in the black community would get mad at Tariq Nasheed if he said that about black men. See what I'm saying? But if he held black women accountable for being promiscuous, am I saying all black women? No, I'm talking about the ones who are. Think about this. What influences young black girls? Your Cardi B's, your Nicki Minaj's, your Megan Thee Stallions, your Sexy Reds. The young generation of black females are highly influenced by that. You know, if he held black women accountable for the things that they do, the black community wouldn't want Tariq Nasheed to do that. Tariq Nasheed will lose a lot of his followers if he held black women accountable. Even if he's telling the truth about the shortcomings of black women, they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear it. They're going to say that he's bashing black women. You guys get what I'm saying? You're not going to get in trouble for holding black men accountable in a conscious black community. You're not. You can say whatever you want to say about black men and you're not going to lose followers. You're not going to lose supporters. But on the flip side, if you start holding black women accountable for their shortcomings, a lot of people in the black community going to turn on you for that.
But you're saying that the media and others are making them believe that the white princess is the way to go. Is that because the mothers have been bad examples for them and they hate their mothers?
No, not at all. I don't think they hate their mothers.
Why would they be easily turned away?
Not easily. If it's something that's really thrown at you every single day. It's just like smoking. Hell, your mother might not smoke cigarettes, but if you see ads about smoking nonstop and ads and billboards about smoking nonstop, you'll try that. There's a lot of stuff that children do that their parents didn't do. A lot of them do things out of rebellion. And even in white society, there's a lot of white women who are rebelling against white society.
Right. Like I said that. I said the same thing before we even got into this part. You know, you have white people who go against what their parents taught them because of society influences, because of what they see in the media. And you have some of these white people who grew up in a household with two parents, and their parents provided a pretty decent lifestyle for them. But at the same time, they still, you have social media, you have society. There's a lot of pressure outside of your parents' home. You know, there's a lot of negativity. It's a whole lot of things out here that you can get caught up in. So yeah, man, it don't matter. We seen white kids grow up in nice homes and they're influenced to do all the wrong things. They go against their parents' teachings all the time. They'll go against their parents' teachings. We've seen this several times. Right? Media and society, you know, they have a lot of influence nowadays. A lot of kids grow up in a household with decent parents, and they go against the teachings that their parents gave them. That happens all the time. So at the end of the day, it's up to you as an individual. What are you going to do with your life? Because at the end of the day, it's your choice on how you're going to live your life. Regardless of how you raise, that person as an individual still has a choice to make. Are you going to go this route or this route? At the end of the day, life is all about choices and decisions. So it doesn't matter how your parents raised you. At the end of the day, you still got to make that decision on how you want to live your life, because it is your life to live.
Dating non-white people, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on in white families that, as we see, you have a lot of sexual harassment cases and charges and rape charges and molestation charges going on in white society. And then a lot of it has to do with programming by the dominant society. For example, a lot of people in the white nationalist movement, they'll say, well, white women are dating non-white men because the Jewish media, they'll blame Jewish people for doing that.
Yeah, I noticed that in all cultures that seem to be victim-minded people blaming someone else for their problems.
Right.
You believe in racism, right?
Do I believe in racism? Do I believe in it? It's white supremacy, of course. It's systematic white supremacy. It's not a belief, that's a reality.
And do your parents believe that too? Do they believe there's racism?
They experienced it. No matter if they believe it or not, they experienced it.
But did they tell you they believe that it's racism, or did they call it something else?
Well, that's the thing, and that's a very good point you made. A lot of times we call it something else because the white supremacists, they like to create false opposition. And really, it's all the same thing. We use terms like segregation, well, that's white supremacy. Use terms like Jim Crow, that's white supremacy. Use terms like fascism, that's another word for white supremacy. See, all of these things are the same, and we get confused by all these labels.
So did your parents call it something else, or did they call it racism?
Sometimes they refer to it as segregation, Jim Crow.
Yeah, because when I was growing up, blacks were not angry and demoralized, and they didn't believe that white people had control over them like that.
They didn't?
And
when did you grow up? When did you grow up?
I never heard the word racism. They call it segregation, as you said.
That's racism, Jesse.
But they also knew that.
That's racism.
Segregation is racism, but you know that Jesse ain't gonna hold white people accountable for anything, so why would he be honest? He can't be honest with white people and still get paid. Segregation was a form of racism. You can't separate segregation from racism. Colorism is a symptom of racism. And so is segregation. Segregation stems from racism. But of course, Jesse will never admit that, because if he was to admit that, that means that he has to hold white people accountable, and he's never going to do that. Not in a million years.
Use terms like segregation, that's white supremacy. Use terms like Jim Crow, that's white supremacy. Use terms like fascism, that's another word for white supremacy. All of these things are the same, and we get confused by all these labels.
You got Wasp Freeze. What do you agree with, Girl Speak? I would like to know, what do you agree with, right? I just told you that black conservatives can't hold white people accountable and get paid. And black men who are pro-black, they can only hold black women accountable to a certain extent. They can't say too much, because if they do, people will label them, well, you just hate black women, you're a misogynist. So if you're a pro-black man, you can only hold black women accountable to a certain extent without it being considered black woman bashing. If you're a black conservative, you can only hold white people accountable to a certain extent. You know, you can't do that and make money as a black conservative. Holding white people accountable is not going to make you money as a black conservative. No.
Your parents call it something else, or did they call it racism?
Sometimes they refer to it as segregation, Jim Crow.
Yeah, because when I was growing up, blacks were not angry and demoralized, and they didn't believe that white people had control over them like that.
Didn't?
And
When did you grow up?
Heard,
when did you grow up?
I never heard the word racism. They call it segregation, as you said.
That's racism, Jesse.
But they also knew that
that's racism.
They also knew that it was good and evil in all cultures.
But where did you grow up? In the 50s and 60s?
Let me just finish this for
you.
But
you got to unpack what you're saying, brother.
Hold on.
Okay.
And so blacks were decent people back then.
If you a black conservative, you can't make money holding white people accountable. You know it. Jesse Lee Peterson can't hold white people accountable and still get paid. Anton Daniels can't hold white people accountable and still get support from that community. Officer Tatum can't hold that community and still get paid. They can't. Black conservatives are compromised Negroes. They got to tread lightly when it comes to criticizing white people. And if you're being honest, you know I'm telling the truth.
And prior to the civil rights movement,
right,
and the brainwashing and dumbing down of black people, not all, but most. And they call it what it was, segregation.
Which is white supremacy.
They knew that.
You do know segregation was white supremacy, right?
They knew that.
Jesse don't want to answer that question. He said, you do know segregation was white supremacy. Jesse is not going to admit to that. Jesse is not going to agree to that because he doesn't want to piss white people off, because you know what they're going to say? You did a live, you did a show, and you was agreeing with Tariq Nasheed. And that's the last thing that he wants white people to think, that he agrees with Tariq Nasheed, because he knows that if he agrees with Tariq Nasheed, white people going to cut him off. Jesse is smart enough to know that. So he'll never agree with Tariq Nasheed publicly because he's too damn afraid to piss off the white people who pays him. But the reality of it is this: segregation is a form of white supremacy, but Jesse will never admit that, and I think we know why.
They didn't? When did you grow up? When did you grow up?
I never heard the word racism. They call it segregation, as you said.
That's racism, Jesse.
But they also knew that.
That's racism.
They also knew that it was good and evil in all cultures.
But where did you grow up? In the 50s and 60s?
Let me just finish this for you.
But you got to unpack what you're saying, brother.
Hold on.
Okay.
And so blacks were decent people back then, prior to the civil rights movement,
right,
and the brainwashing and dumbing down of black people. Not all, but most. And they call it what it was: segregation.
Hey, I like how Jesse Lee Peterson says that. Not all, but most. I like what he said. Not all, but most. Jesse Lee Peterson is a fool for that one, though, man.
Which is white supremacy.
They knew that.
You do know segregation was white supremacy, right?
They knew that the laws were bad that separated the blacks. So
what were the laws?
That under the Jim Crow laws, that white
Jim Crow is white
together.
supremacy, Jesse. You're going back to white supremacy.
It was a government.
See, Jesse refuses to admit that segregation is white supremacy. Jim Crow is white supremacy. That's exactly what it is. But Jesse knows that he can't agree with Tariq Nasheed publicly because that'll mess up his money. The last thing that Jesse Lee Peterson wants is for white people to believe that he agrees with Tariq Nasheed. That's the last thing that Jesse wants. So when Tariq Nasheed asks him a direct question that you can't get around, he'll deflect and just go to something else. Like when we was talking about slavery, he said, well, blacks in Africa. No, we're not talking about what went on in Africa. We're talking about slavery that took place in America. We're not concerned with Africa. But you know why Jesse Lee did that? He didn't want to hold white people accountable for slavery in America, so he deflected to Africa. Anything, so he'll say anything to where he ain't got to hold that white man accountable, man. And you know this, man. I'm not going to talk about slavery in America. I'm going to deflect to Africa. And that's exactly what Jesse did. The last thing that Jesse Lee Peterson wants is for white folks to think and believe that he agrees with Tariq Nasheed. That is the last thing that Jesse Lee Peterson wants.
Created those laws. White people didn't create those laws. The government did.
The government was run by white supremacists.
Let me just finish the point, though.
But the government was run by white supremacists. The government is not some mindless entity.
How many times are you going to say white supremacists?
Because you're using all these words and you're talking 100 times. But Jesse, calm down, Jesse.
But let me ask you this question.
I don't want your energy to jump off on me.
Let me ask you this question.
But Jesse,
he said, I don't want that coon energy to I don't want that coon energy to rub off on me. Hell no.
You're using different terms for white supremacy, though, brother. You understand that. Jim Crow was white supremacy.
Okay.
You got that?
So if your parents call it what it was, Why did you deviate from that and call it white supremacy?
Because I'm telling you, brother, it was all the same thing. You saying that black people were more decent, they were decent, and they still were subjugated to white supremacy.
See, when you say, they always like to go back to this. Well, black people were decent individuals under the Jim Crow thing. Black people stuck together because they had to. But guess what? Black people during the Jim Crow era, and you say, well, we had more black families, more togetherness, but we didn't have civil rights. We didn't have rights. Now that black people have more freedom and rights, there's more there's a lot of distrust amongst black people, right? We don't trust one another because we all think, for the most part, we think as individuals, we don't do things collectively. Now, you got some black people who are coming together collectively to get certain things accomplished. Yes, you have that. So I'll never deny that. Like Foundational Black Americans, that movement is a prime example of how black people are coming together under the same beliefs, under the same ideologies to get things accomplished in this country. So not all. Don't get it twisted. What I'm saying is this. White people love to say, well, when blacks was under Jim Crow, they had more families. Yeah, but they didn't have civil rights, and they were still dealing with white supremacy. You had more black people getting lynched in the 50s than you do now. So when black people had two-parent families, when blacks had two-parent families, they were still dealing with systematic white supremacy. You know how many black people got lynched and hung in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s? Going into the 60s? Yes, blacks had two-parent homes, but look at all the white supremacy that they had to deal with. Black people didn't even have rights. Yes, we had together families, but we didn't even have something called civil rights in the 40s and 50s. Right? But they never want to talk about that. They'll say, well, blacks are ghetto, this and that. Listen, if you go back to the 20s, there was no such thing as ghetto. There was no such thing as ghetto hood culture in the black community in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. And guess what? White people still hated you. When black folks went to church and prayed every day, minded their business, they still got attacked by white supremacists. Those people weren't thugs. They wasn't criminals. They wasn't savages. White people hated them just for being black. And if you don't believe me, just study history. So when white people tell you today they only hate you because you're ghetto, that you're this, you're that, they're gaslighting you. We can go back to a time and era when black people wasn't none of that. They wasn't criminals. They wasn't gang members and thugs. And white people still hated you back then. I would argue that they hated you more when you were docile and you went to church. You minded your business. You stuck to the people in your community. You didn't bother white folks. They hated you more back then than they hate you now. So don't let them gaslight you and say, well, we just hate black people because you hated black people way before ghetto culture existed. Stop it. You're gaslighting. And we're not going to let you do it.
When you were growing up, and you grew up in Alabama. I lived in Alabama too. See, we got a lot in common, Jesse. See, the thing.
Listen, there's a lot of red states with a lot of violence too, right? Think about this. Tennessee is a red state. Right. And the black communities in the state of Tennessee is like, it's crazy. Alabama is a red state. Birmingham, Alabama got one of the highest homicide rates in the country. Right. Texas is a red state. So you got a lot of violence going on in these red states too. The thing is, they don't get a lot of public scrutiny. Right. So they blame things on the Democratic ran cities like LA, Chicago, New York City, Philadelphia, but they'll sit up there and ignore the violence that goes on in these red states. So these red states are not problem free. They're not. It's a whole lot of drama. There's a whole lot of black on black violence in these red states as well. And these states are ran by Republicans. Right. So, but it's easy to say liberals, Democrats. Let me tell you guys something. That liberal Democrat talking point is played out because it's all white supremacy. It's all systematic. It's the same people, bro. You put a Democrat in office, you put a Republican in office, black people still gonna deal with the problem. We're still gonna deal with similar problems. Now, I agree that I voted for Donald Trump. I didn't vote for Kamala Harris. That's not because I agree with everything that Donald Trump does. I was just smart enough to know that we would rather have Donald Trump in office compared to a Kamala Harris. That's why I gave Donald Trump my vote, because I felt like Donald Trump would do a better job at running this country than Kamala Harris. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a conservative. I'm just King Supreme doing my damn thing, delivering this content, you know, giving you the facts, and I'm not biased.
Is once you live, what part of Alabama were you in?
I live near Montgomery.
Okay, I was in
Tuskegee, Montgomery.
Yeah, I was in Birmingham and Leeds and all that stuff. And the thing is, when you are
when white people say make America great, again, what they're saying is America isn't great now. That's the whole purpose of them saying make America great again. And so when they say make America great again, you ask them, name a time and era when America was great. Please name a time and era when America was great. Because what they're saying is America isn't great right now. That's why we want to make America great again, because it isn't great right now. That's exactly what white people are saying. So when they say make America great again, you ask them, name a time and era when America was great, and see if they'll give you an honest answer. Because if America isn't great right now, okay, cool. It's not great. It's not great right now. Name a time and era when it was great, and see what they say. They're going to go back to Jim Crow. They're going to go back to slavery, because white people felt like they had more power and control over this country when blacks was in slavery, or when blacks were under Jim Crow laws in this country. That's what they mean when they say make America great again. Don't let them fool you. That's exactly what they mean when they say we want to make America great again.
Around hardcore white supremacy, and it was hardcore even when I was growing up in the 80s in Alabama. Two things are going to happen to a black person. Either they're going to comply with white supremacy, or they're going to rebel. Now, you and I, we grew up in the same state, basically. I rebel against white supremacy, and you complied with it. Now, I would like to know what happened.
Maybe that's why you're controlled by white people now.
What happened with you as a child that made you...
Jesse, you're controlled by white people. You can't hold white people accountable and still get paid, so they're controlling you. You can't even hold white people accountable for obvious BS because you're too worried about losing your money. So in reality, white people are controlling you, not Tariq Nasheed. Tariq Nasheed speaks against the system. You have conformed to the system, Jesse. So if anybody is controlled by the white man, it is you, Jesse. You regurgitate their talking points to make money on social media, and you can't hold them accountable for anything. We know this. So in reality, you are the one that's controlled by these white folks, Jesse, not Tariq. Tariq Nasheed speaks what's on his mind. He holds white people accountable when he feels he has to. Jesse Lee Peterson will never hold whites accountable for anything. Why? Because white people control them. White people are the ones who are paying him. So he can't afford to hold them accountable.
Comply with white supremacy.
Because you rebel, maybe that's why you're so into the white thing, controlled by white people, and they don't really care about you at all.
I know they don't.
But
they care about dominating us.
You're into them, but they're not into you. But I want to ask you some more questions because we're running out of time.
Good.
So you believe that white supremacists exist. I want to know exactly what do you want from white people?
What I want for them to stop practicing white supremacy and replace the system of white supremacy with justice.
Well, white people will never stop practicing white supremacy. And I have to say this to Tariq Nasheed, and I have to say this. Why would white people stop practicing a system that works for them, right? They benefit from that system. So why would they stop practicing something that they benefit from? It's never going to happen. Black people have to listen. As a black person, you got to find a way to overthrow a system. It's not human nature. It's not in human nature to stop practicing something that's working for you. They'll never do it. It's been working for them for too long. They'll never stop practicing something that works. You know, let's be honest. But shout out to Tariq Nasheed for being honest. But I had to add that there. White people will not stop practicing a system that benefits them. They're not going to do it. And why would they? If I'm dominating and having things my way, why would I change a system that I benefit from? Why would I change something that works for me? That's not human nature. You got to find a way to overthrow that system, but they're not going to stop practicing something that's working for them. No.
to redistribute the maldistributed resources that come with systematic white supremacy. I want them to punish.
You want reparations? Does that mean reparations?
You can call it whatever. I don't.
But is that what you're saying for the understanding?
Redistributed resources that were maldistributed because blacks had their resources maldistributed. We were denied things, and it was codified by the government. Do you agree with that?
Meaning reparations, right?
Well, we were denied things that were codified by the government. The government
like
sanctioned
what, for example?
With jobs, housing, health, all types of not reparations, but all types of resources that were given to the dominant society. The dominant society is meaning white supremacists. They've been giving reparations for the last 200 or 300 years.
Amazing.
So, right.
And so you want reparations from white people exactly. You want them to stop being white supremacists.
Reparations from white people or the resources that were generated from free African labor. If it wasn't for free African labor, there would be no wealth in this country, Jesse. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I disagree.
Okay. Where was okay?
Disagree.
See, this is how he said, if it wasn't for the labor of foundational black Americans, we wouldn't have the wealth in this country. Okay, Jesse, show us the wealth that this country had that predates chattel slavery here in this country. Slavery built America's economy. America was not a powerhouse. The United States was not a powerhouse prior to the slave trade taking place in this country. But Jesse will never be real enough to admit that. America's wealth came from chattel slavery. That's how America built this wealth. That's how America became so powerful. Prior to that, America wasn't wealthy. America didn't have no power. America's wealth was built on chattel slavery. But Jesse will never admit that in 100 years because that means he would have to hold white people accountable to admit that, and he's never going to do it. He's never going to do it.
Where did it come from? Where did the wealth of this country come from if it wasn't for free African labor?
The hard work of the men and women, the good men and women of this country.
So he said the wealth came from the wealth in this country came from the hard work of the good men and women in this country. Show us America's wealth prior to chattel slavery. They didn't have anything. If anything, white people fled to America because they was poor in Europe. White people were scrambling, looking to conquer new land. Prior to chattel slavery in America, white people had nothing. Chattel slavery built America's wealth. That's how America got powerful. That's how America got wealthy. They did it through slavery. Prior to slavery, whites in America were not rich. They were not wealthy.
So the free African labor weren't good men and women?
Let me ask you this.
So the free African labor, those were not good.
See, now Jesse Lee Peterson is pretending like he don't understand the history of this country. Like he don't know that America was not wealthy prior to chattel slavery. He's pretending like he doesn't know that.
All types of not reparations, but all types of resources that were given to the dominant society. The dominant society, meaning white supremacists, they've been giving reparations for the last 200 or 300 years.
Amazing.
So, right.
And so you want reparations from white people exactly. You want them to stop being white supremacists.
Reparations from white people or the resources that were generated from free African labor. If it wasn't for free African labor, there would be no wealth in this country, Jesse. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I disagree.
Okay. Where did it come from? Where did the wealth of this country come from if it wasn't for free African labor?
The hard work of the men and women, the good men and women of this country.
So the free African labor weren't good men and women?
Let me ask you this.
So the free African labor, those were not good men.
I want to ask you
deflecting means you don't
He deflecting. So what Tariq Nasheed is saying, like, oh, so you're saying that the free labor that they got from foundational black Americans, those wasn't good men and women? Of course not. Jesse will never admit that because the last thing that Jesse wants to do is to show white folks that he agrees with Tariq Nasheed. So he'll never agree with Tariq Nasheed He'll never agree with Tariq Nasheed publicly because he don't want to piss off the white people who pays him. So he'll never agree with Tariq Nasheed publicly, especially if it's something that's said about the white folks. He's not going to agree with Tariq publicly, right? Jesse understands that might mess up his money, so he'll never agree with Tariq publicly. Especially if Tariq Nasheed is saying something that's true about white folks, Jesse will never agree to that. Even if you have the facts and the receipts right in his face, he'll never admit it in a million years. He ain't gonna do it.
what you
right.
said.
I want to ask you another question.
Deflecting means you don't believe what you just said, but I got you.
I grew up under the Jim Crow laws.
White supremacy.
And while growing up, Black Americans, including my family members and others.
Listen, man, a lot of those people were Africans, right, who built this country. You can say that, oh, we have Aboriginal blacks in this country who built. Then you can say that some of the Africans that they built. The reality of it is blacks in America built this country. White people sat back and got wealthy while blacks did all the hard labor and all the free work. That's how whites got wealthy in this country. They got wealthy through chattel slavery. Let's keep it a buck, family.
Did better for themselves then than they do today, and they were not complaining about white supremacy.
Yes, they were, Jesse. You're telling a lie. Looking at me telling a lie. Yes, they were.
Black Americans built Black Wall Street, right? And the white supremacists burned it down. The traffic light, right, that you pull up to every day. A black man created that. The first open heart surgery in this country, a black man created that, right? You know, the first blood transfusion, a black man created that, right? All the labor in this country, black people was doing the labor in this country. White people wasn't doing the labor in this country. So if you have to ask me what have Black Americans built, you're just stupid. And clearly you don't understand history. You're stupid and don't understand history. Black people did all the labor. White people didn't do nothing but sit back and say, do this, do that. They didn't build this country. They used foundational Black Americans to do all the labor in this country. Prior to chattel slavery, white Americans had no money. Prior to chattel slavery, they didn't have no money at all. They came over here because they were dying in Europe. They was going through a dark age because the fruits wasn't growing in Europe. There were diseases spreading in Europe. There were plagues spreading in Europe. So white people had to leave Europe for survival. That's why they came to America looking for new land, because the white race was on the verge of dying out. So if you got to ask me what have Black Americans built in this country, clearly you don't understand history. What a fool.
Jesse, they had a Montgomery. You grew up in
not
Montgomery.
In my neighborhood.
Jesse.
This fool said, what have Black Americans built in this country, right? The traffic light that you pull up to every day, and that traffic light is used all across the world, not just here in America. That traffic light was built by a Black man, and that traffic light is in every country. The traffic light is a necessity to society across the world, not just here in this country. So if you got to ask me what have blacks built in America, clearly you don't understand history. You're a bird brain. You got a peanut for a brain. You don't even understand the history of this country. The fact that you asked me that dumb question proves that you don't know anything about the history of this country.
They had the Montgomery bus boycott where you live, brother.
I didn't live in
movement. You said you live near Montgomery,
yeah,
right?
Right.
But they had a bus boycott, brother. Why was there was a bus boycott that led off the civil rights movement?
That was to change the law,
the white
so that blacks would be treated under the law
equally.
But let me ask you.
So we agree.
But it was about all that other mess.
Right. But we agree. You actually agree with me. But go ahead, brother.
Let me ask you.
Go ahead, sir.
I grew up under Jim Crow law.
Yes.
Down and out.
You said, okay, a traffic light. The traffic light ain't the only thing we built. It ain't the only thing that we built. Clearly, you don't understand American history, because you just asked the dumbest question that anybody can ask. What have blacks built in this country? Are you dumb? Well, in reality, you are, because that is a dumb question to ask. The first open heart surgery was done by a black man. The blood transfusion. Open heart surgery saves millions of lives in this country, millions of lives globally. Blood transfusion saves people's lives every day. All of these things were created by black men. So when you ask me what have Black Americans built, you got to be a fool who clearly doesn't understand history. You're not, listen, homie, you're not smart enough to have this conversation with me, because you don't even understand something as simple as American history. You don't even understand American history. You're clueless when it comes to history. You're not smart enough to have this conversation.
Alabama.
Right.
My family members and other blacks that we knew.
Civil rights that everybody benefit from when they come to America. Black Americans are responsible for the civil rights that everybody have in this country. But maybe you're too foolish to understand that. Why? Because you don't understand the history of this country. You're a fool. You're foolish. You are clueless.
own land. They took care of themselves. They learned to work hard. They were very creative. They were black.
He could literally Google this on a smartphone, but you're still clueless. You're still foolish. How you gonna be clueless? And we're living in an information age where you can literally look this stuff up, and you can literally look this stuff up in 5 seconds. Now, I'm not saying everything in Google is correct, because there's a lot of false information in Google as well. But at the same time, there's accurate information up there that tells the truth about the history in this country. There's certain things that you can look up and you can see, okay, blacks invented this, blacks invented that. We've invented a lot of things in this country, but of course you wouldn't know that because you've been indoctrinated to believe different. You're brainwashed, you're clueless, you're foolish. You don't understand the history of this country. You don't qualify to you don't even qualify to have this conversation. You're clueless.
Universities that they would go to and come back as professionals. They have money. Matter of fact, I have one of my aunts, her husband got married, bought
And by the way,
land,
those black universities were funded by whites, by the way.
Bought buku land.
But the black universities were funded by whites.
Is that a negative?
I'm just saying, you're making it seem like it was an independent thing. Unfortunately,
it was just like all universities now. They got some money from the government,
they were
and
funded by whites.
They put money in themselves.
Shout out to Scoop, man. I got to read what Scoop said. Scoop 2003 said, other communities continue to ignore history because it will destroy the lies that have been told to them. It will destroy the lies that's been told to them, right? So that's why they ignore history, because if they took a deep look at history, that will destroy all of their talking points. It'll destroy the false narratives that they push. So they don't want to understand true history. They don't. Listen, this dude pulls up to a traffic light every day, and that traffic light is used globally, not just here in this country. It's used globally. That was created by a black man. The music that everybody enjoys in America, that was created by foundational black Americans. Foundational black Americans created jazz, rock and roll, the blues, R&B, funk music, house music, hip hop, rap, you name it. These are foundational black American creations. People across the world enjoy the music we made. Foundational black Americans are the creators of many things, but if you don't understand history, you're going to be lost in the sauce.
They funded many of them in the South so they can keep black people in the South so they couldn't go in the North and compete with the immigrants that were coming in, but that's neither here nor there. But go ahead.
Let me finish the point. Blacks they got married for the most part, had their children under the umbrella of marriage. The kids were decent kids.
When blacks had more marriages in this country, when they were getting married, they still dealt with systematic white supremacy. You had more black people getting hung and lynched in the 30s and 40s. Yes, you had together black families, but we didn't have something called civil rights. If a white person said you did something in the 30s and 40s, you were guilty because it was, I'm white and I say so. And your word would not override a white person's word. If a white person said you did something in the 30s and 40s, you were guilty just because a white person said you did it. It all goes back to the saying, I'm white and I say so. So you can talk about black people had these families during the Jim Crow era. We didn't have civil rights, and you had more black people getting lynched then than you had black people getting lynched now. So that's not something that we should be proud of, because yes, we had families and togetherness because we were forced to. But at the same time, you're gonna ignore the fact that you had more black people getting lynched and attacked based on the color of their skin back then compared to now. It was way more black people suffering due to the hands of racist white supremacists in the 30s and 40s, because white people can do it and get away with it. It was their word against yours, and it all boils down to I'm white and I say so. So if a white person said that you were guilty of something in the 30s and 40s, you were guilty, not because you were guilty because a white person said you did it. Because a white person's word spoke volumes. It all boils down to I'm white and I say so. You're black, you're guilty. I'm white and I'm telling the truth. I'm white and I say so, and a lot of black people got convicted just based on that mindset. I'm white and I say so. Nobody's going to believe you because you're black. I'm giving you the historical facts.
They didn't kill, each other, and whites or blacks. And those kids went on to do well in life. They were not having abortions. And they were not having truckloads of children out of wedlock.
Exactly.
Why were
Shout out to Mr. Really though. He said the irony of Jesse calling other men beta while simultaneously bug dancing for butter biscuits is beyond laughable. Shout out to Mr. Really though, right? Amazing, isn't it? It is amazing. Right? He got the nerve to say beta. Beta man. But listen, man, we're going to get up out of here, man. You know, it's your boy, Red Supreme, delivering the Straight Lace game. Make sure that you guys get up here in this comment section.
Life more decent and love what's right and did what's right with the laws being there against them than they are able to do today. And they were not victims. They didn't blame anyone for those circumstances.
Black people were victims back then. You had more black people being lynched and hung back then. When you had black families who stuck together, they were forced to stick together, but they didn't have something called civil rights. If a white person said you was guilty of something in the 1930s and the 1940s, you were guilty because a white person said so, even if they were telling a bold-faced lie.
They were decent back then, and more.
And those kids went on to do well in life. And
funded by whites.
They put money themselves.
And they funded many of them in the South so they can keep black people in the South so they couldn't go in the North and compete with the immigrants that were coming in. But that's neither here nor there. But go ahead.
Let me finish the point. Blacks they got married for the most part, had their children under the umbrella of marriage. The kids were decent kids where they didn't kill each other, and whites or blacks. And those kids went on to do well in life. They were not having abortions. And they were not having truckloads of children out of wedlock.
Exactly.
Why were blacks more decent and love what's right and did what's right with the laws being there against them than they are able to do today? And they were not victims. They didn't blame anyone.
Black people were victims. What are you talking about? You didn't see Tulsa, Oklahoma? You didn't see those churches that got bombed in Birmingham, Alabama? You didn't see Wilmington, North Carolina. You didn't see Ocoee, Florida with July Perry. Blacks were victims. Yes, we had more two-parent family households, but they still suffered. They still got victimized by white supremacists in this country. Because if a white person said you did something, you were guilty because it all boils down to I'm white and I say so. I'm white, I'm right. You're black and you're guilty. I'm giving you the history of this country. I'm not making anything up. So for Jesse to fix his mouth to say that blacks weren't victims, white people victimized black people more back then because, listen, now you got white people who will go to jail if they do something to a black person, but a lot of them still get off. But if you go back to the 30s, 40s, and 50s, a white person could have did anything to you, and it was rare that they served any jail time because it all boils down to I'm white and I say so. I'm white and I'm right. You're black and you're guilty. You don't believe me? Study the history of this country. You ain't got to take my word for it.
They were decent back then, and more families were intact back then, and they still were dominated by white supremacy because that's why they had a civil rights movement back then, Jesse.
They didn't blame anyone for those circumstances.
They were decent back then.
Kids were decent kids where they didn't kill each other, and whites or blacks. And those kids went on to do well in life. They were not having abortions. And they were not having truckloads of children out of wedlock.
Exactly.
Why were blacks more decent and love what's right and did what's right with the laws being there against them than they are able to do today? And they were not victims. They didn't blame anyone for those circumstances.
They were decent back then, and more families were intact back then, and they still were dominated by white supremacy because that's why they had a civil rights movement back then, Jesse. There was a reason why you're talking about this utopia that black people were good, which we were, and we were still getting our brains beat out. That's why they had a civil rights movement, sir. That's why black people put on their church clothes and got dog sicked on them and water hoses sicked on them because they were still under the system of white supremacy. As decent as they were, they worked hard, they were educated, assimilated, and they were still getting beat up by the white supremacists, Jesse. So we can't
deny
white supremacy.
Those hardworking black people who minded their business, there was no such thing as thug culture. There was no such thing as gangbangers in the 1920s and 30s, and they still got treated poorly by whites in this country. They still got lynched and attacked by whites in this country. Even when blacks were just hardworking, innocent people, they still got attacked by white supremacists on the daily. Jesse, what are you talking about? Those honest black people who are hardworking, two parents in a household, they still got attacked because white folks hated them based on the fact that they were black. I'm giving you the historical facts. There's no disputing this. I'm giving you the irrefutable facts.
Don't give you reparations, will you live a life of unhappiness, feeling like a victim and blaming them the rest of your life?
No, we have to acknowledge what they did in history. It's not about blaming, it's about telling the truth about history. See, this is how white people gaslight you. When you hold white people accountable for things that they actually done, oh, you guys are just pretending to be victims. That's how they gaslight you. But when white people want to hold black people accountable for things we do, you know what white folks say? We're just telling the truth. We're being honest. But when black folks are honest about the history in this country and we hold white people accountable for the things that they actually done, they'll gaslight you by saying blacks need to stop pretending to be victims. That is how white folks gaslight you. That is how black conservatives gaslight you. You guys are just pretending to be victims, even when you have the proof of everything you just said. These are historical facts. We're not making anything up. See, it's okay for whites to talk about how violent blacks are. It's okay for white people to talk about how blacks attack them. But when we tell the truth about the history in this country, when we hold white people accountable for their racism, oh, you blacks, you just need to stop pretending to be a victim. That is how they gaslight you. That is how they get you to stop talking about white. That's how they get you to stop talking about white racism in this country. They're going to tell you, stop pretending to be a victim, even when you pull out the receipts and the historical facts to back up everything that you said. You dig? Listen, man, we're going to get up out of here. Should play upon the Red Supreme. Make sure that you like this stream. Get us some more supporters. Make sure that you bless the Cash App, bless the PayPal and everything now. Subscribe to the channel. Support the channel. The truth is way more than you can handle. I'm giving you the historical facts. Bless the Cash App, $Red 1803 if you really appreciate content like this.